All right, let's talk. We got visits coming up. Big 2024 stretch here. Before we get into that, let's talk about the guys who are already committed. Two in-state post players, front court pieces, Mirez Johnson and Jakstys both rise in the 24/7 sports recruiting rankings. Mirez just outside that 5-star territory, but he's at number 35 now in the country. While his former teammate, James Brown, has kind of tumbled a little bit. He's down to 91. But Jakstys makes his first appearance in these rankings. 3-star prospect, number 111 overall. I know our guy, Eric Bossy, really likes him from 24/7 Sports. So just what's your reaction to that, Derek?
Very nice jump from Morez. You're still going to have people out there, and probably even Morez himself, who thinks he's deserving of that 5th star. And as far as the production goes and what he did at Peach Jam against the best competition in the country, I mean, he was the leading rebounder in the league. He was very dominant, double-double performance pretty much every game that he was there. So if he has a stellar senior season, he should be like a legitimate consideration for McDonald's All-American. And we'll see that goes. And sometimes I know fans get frustrated where if you're a Duke commit, if you're a North Carolina commit, sometimes you maybe get the benefit of the doubt on some of those political decisions, as some would call it. But Morez, I really like the way his game's progressed. There's more in his bag offensively. Like I think that now he's flashed some of the 15-foot jump shot. I'm not saying it's the strength of his game. It's still something he needs to work on. Free throw line still something that needs to get better for him. But I like that he can face up and kind of drive people. I think he's just far more aggressive and confident offensively. Can use either hand in the post, and defensively just very active, very gritty on the glass. I mean, he's an elite rebounder, very strong, and just a very good athlete and rim runner. So this is a nice boost for him to be the 6th best center in the country. You'll take that as far as definitely Illinois goes. And really in that range, it's been a sweet spot for Illinois. I mean, Io was like 30th in the country. Kofi was a little bit lower than that, kind of around 50th or so. I know guys that didn't stick around / hit. I mean, Adam Miller was kind of in that 30 to 35 range, Sky in that 30 to 35 range, but pretty good spot for Morez, and maybe a senior season gets him that 5th star potentially.
Yeah, before I'll ask you about Jakstys here in a moment, but they started off the Underwood era recruiting guards extremely well, right? Like maybe some of these guys didn't work out, but just the level of recruitment they were winning for guards. And Adam Miller was a heck of a get. Andre Curbelo was a heck of a get. Obviously, Io DeSumo. But this recent run of bigs, Kofi Coburn impact seems like it is real, and just the program resurgence. But I mean, Mirez Johnson, I mean, Dane Danger was a big transfer get, right? Amani Hansberry. This is a really strong group of front court pieces, Derek, that they have put together. And I've compared it to what Michigan State always seems to have in the front court, is just bigs upon bigs and depth in there.
It's a big deal. You can't survive in the Big Ten when you're at such a huge disadvantage. And Illinois for a decent time, you know, post Myers Leonard, really. I mean, there was a long stretch. Nana Egwu, your guy, was able to defend, but left a decent amount to be desired offensively. And yeah, obviously with Kofi, Dane had a nice showing last year. Hopefully he's able to build on that. And Amani, there's a lot of hope for what he can be long-term too. And that was a recruitment that Illinois was really fired up to win. Morez comes in. I mean, he's got a chance to be an all-league player, a guy that athletically, physically is not going to be punked by anybody. So they're very, very excited about that. And to pair that with still some pretty successful guard recruiting and obviously gone out and gotten wings in the portal, that puts you in a position to have a nice, well-rounded roster. And Morez is a big part of that.
Yeah, no, of course, we can't ignore the development of Coleman Hawkins and what he's become for this program as well. Jason Jakstys, 111. I think 24/7 Sports is definitely the hype evaluation service on Jakstys, but I'm sure Illinois is liking seeing that.
They are. And I'm glad you mentioned Coleman Hawkins there, because when Jakstys commits, you got a lot of people, oh no, Brandon Lee 2.0, and a guy that's very tall and slender and is a big-time physical project. And we saw Lee, hopefully he has success moving on there to ISU, but just at the high major level, particularly in the Big Ten, it was a tough and tall task for him. He didn't get a lot of production out of his years here in Champaign. Jakstys now is ranked higher than what Coleman Hawkins was coming out of high school. I mean, now he's kind of in that range, and tread lightly with this example I'm about to use. Like Ethan Happ was like in the 120s. and that's, you look at Jakstys kind of as that skilled big man that maybe takes a couple years to develop physically. And maybe you hit on something that Wisconsin's had going for a number of years. So they saw that out of him. They saw him as a long-term piece. They liked his skill set. They thought he was more athletic than Lieb and more mobile, the ability to step out and just be more skilled off the bounce and be able to shoot a little bit better. So, yeah, like you said, Eric Bossy saw him down in Atlanta for the Under Armour event there in July and really liked him. I liked him in June, and that's why Illinois, based on what he had shown there, decided to push post AAU. So for him to be just outside the top 100, kind of in that 125, above 150 range, it's a good spot for him. And I think probably will calm some of the angst. If there was some out there, he's going to have to live up to it and have to go through the process of getting stronger, because that definitely is a big thing. But maybe allows people to understand, okay, it's not just Illinois that sees promise in him. The national guys do as well.
Yeah, I think there's always room for developmental front court pieces as long as they're committed to that process, right? Like, and I thought Brandon Lieb was. I think Coleman Hawkins has shown that he is too. Derek, before we get into the guards, because they do need guards, where are we at in the recruiting calendar, and what are we seeing from the Illini staff right now on the recruiting trail?
It's that traditional time of year we get the official visits rolling. I know we haven't had one, and Illinois, by locking up Morez really early, by getting Jakstys on board late in the summer, it's not a situation where it's, you know, big official every weekend and that type of thing. We're going to have we're going to talk about Mikey Lewis coming up, and then obviously Jace Butler after that. But this past weekend opened up the open recruiting period. So post AAU, you start to line up some official visits with guys in that current class, and just you're kind of done with your evaluations for the summer. And it's kind of really a dead period where you finish things up with your team, and coaches kind of take a breath, and players are kind of worn out by playing all spring and summer. And once they get their visits lined up, they want to be able to take some time to themselves too. So now it ramps up where the staff can get back on the road. They can go out, and some staffs are having in-home visits. Some are going to practices and watching some open gyms and that kind of stuff. So Brad Underwood has been out. He went out west to see both Mikey Lewis and then Jace Butler in California earlier this week. Stopped in to see Jeremiah Fears yesterday in Arizona at Compass Prep. And I know Tim's been up in Chicago, saw Phoenix Gill, seen some of the younger guys like Jackson Davis from Warren, Davion Thompson from Bolingbrook, two really impressive 2B sophomores this year that showed out well coming up. So I think that's kind of the way you look at it, is trying to get your eyes on more guys, get some of that face time with younger guys. And maybe it's a chance for, prior to a visit with Mikey, you go get that face-to-face, and then you get the visit. So you try to build some momentum there, or have some in-homes. But it's a good chance for the staff now to not have limitations and go out and see people kind of in their home environment.
Illinois has landed some talented guards in previous years. The issue is keeping them. Curbelo, Miller, Sky Clark, Jaden Epps. But they need a 2024 guard. Derek, obviously, point guard remains a need. You got Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn coming in, Ty Rogers taking on that role, but you need more scoring options there. And you mentioned Mikey Lewis is the first of the two official visits they got scheduled over the next couple weeks. What do you know about Mikey Lewis? What would he bring game-wise, and just what's his recruitment look like right now?
He was one of the top scorers in the EYBL this past spring and summer, a guy that really wasn't on the national radar prior to that. I mean, he'd played up even as a 16U, playing with the Oakland Soldiers, a well-respected program out there on the West Coast. But it was really his arrival that first weekend in April, the first live period, led the entire EYBL in scoring, put up 25 points a game, got a wave of offers, including one from Illinois. And Chester Frazier really jumped in heavy with him as soon as he saw him that weekend. And I know that's been a big deal to Mikey and his family, just how hard Chester came after him, prioritized him, and that relationship that they've been able to build over the coming months. So in terms of the player, I mean, you look at him through the EYBL regular season, 18 points a game, 38% from three, just a really smooth scorer that can score it off the bounce, that can hit it in the mid-range, catch and shoot threes. Not the most explosive athlete. I think that's one thing. If you look at him athletically, he's not a guy that's going to maybe finish over people at the rim as much, but he's just someone that at 6'3" as a combo guard can really just be a bucket. So that's something they look at. I think they see him as someone that can pair with Dre Gibbs-Lawhorn, and you'd have a lot of scoring punch in that backcourt if you're able to get him. So recruitment-wise, he's got 3 official visits coming up in consecutive weekends, kicking off with this weekend. He's got Illinois, then LSU, then Ole Miss, and then he's looking to make a decision after that. So The way I've seen it, I think that Illinois and LSU are probably the top two at this point. I think LSU might have a little bit of a leg up going into the visits. That maybe have a little bit more guaranteed opportunity to sell. I know that he's talked about the fact that Mike McMahon coached John Morant at Murray State, and now they're at LSU, which isn't a bad selling point to a guard that's looking to be highlighted and get to the next level eventually. So. But we'll see how this visit goes. He hasn't been to any of those campuses, so really a first chance to get the feel of what those campuses feel like, what the team environment is, and it's a big one for Illinois because he's a top 100 bona fide legit scorer that can come in and make an impact.
Jace Butler visiting not this weekend, but the weekend after. Mikey Lewis, a little more under the radar prospect, but it seems like Illinois really, really likes him. Derek, what do you know about his game, what he could bring, and his recruitment as well?
Yeah, the fact that they had the rankings update, he wasn't ranked in the top 150, still an unranked 3-star guy. You look at the other players in his recruitment. I mean, he's gone to UC Santa Barbara, Loyola Marymount, Colorado State earlier this week. And then right now, I think Illinois is his final official visit, and then he wants to make a decision early October. So you're pretty much battling mid-major programs, mid to low major programs. Someone that really made a name for himself and really jumped on Illinois' radar in June at a event called Section 7 out there in Phoenix. And he's a 6'4" lefty, pretty smooth. He's got a nice build to him. I like his playmaking. He can shoot from three, not as consistent as Mikey was over the summer. I think when you compare the two, Mikey's just more of that polished scorer, more scoring punch. Jase is more of a playmaker, a guy that can make decisions and get other guys involved. I think that's more of a skill set for him. So I think in terms of play style, when Illinois saw him out there in Phoenix, they got some shades of like a Jalen Brunson type. Now, Jalen Brunson was like a McDonald's All-American 5-star. So I'm just talking play style, lefty, smooth, maybe not that much athletic. Some guys might even overlook his long-term or high-end upside. I think that even came into play with Jalen. And I'm not trying to go too heavy on that comp, but yeah, lefty smooth, and Illinois really, really likes him. Like if they were in a situation where they didn't get Mikey, they got Jace Butler, they'd be very happy. And I think that's kind of how they've set themselves up, where they can get one of the two, and they hope to close on Jase if they can't get Mikey and just really play this thing out the next 2 weekends.